Hey guys, my name is Jillian Rose Reed.
I'm Marty Shannon.
Welcome to our home. We're going to be sharing with you some tips and tricks that we learned as first-time home buyers and renovators so that hopefully you guys don't make the same mistakes that we did.
Yes, the do's and don'ts
of home renovation.
Oh yeah.
Come on in. Welcome to our living room. This is our main living space, and I think this is the perfect place to give you guys our #1 tip, which is make sure that your small space is light and bright. We kept all of the window treatments and the walls white because we wanted to let in a bunch of light and make sure that the space felt really open. It gives the illusion that it's a lot bigger than it actually is.
Right. And with white walls, you can do whatever you want. It's a blank palette, so you can get as wacky with colors here and there as you need.
Another really great tip for first-time renovators is to use the space that you already have and save the integrity of the home, especially if you're like us and you like to buy homes that are a little bit older. Save the beautiful parts that come with your home. For us, it was this awesome stone wall and our beautiful peaked wood ceilings. Those were kind of the selling points of our house.
Yeah, it's the things that you can't make yourself that only come with time. So, make sure to really let those features shine.
And don't try to turn them into something that they're not.
Right.
You know, like we could have easily painted this stone wall, but it's so beautiful. Letting the natural texture of the rock shine through is what makes this space so cool and special.
Yeah.
So once the hard stuff, the renovation is over, then it's time for the fun. Then it's time to find your own unique style. One of the biggest tips that I can offer first-time renovators and designers is to not make your space feel smaller with small furniture. If your space is small, utilize statement pieces. We have a giant buffet, we have a full-sized coffee table, large art pieces that really draw the eye up. Filling a space that's tiny with tiny furniture actually just gives the illusion that it's even smaller.
Mm-hmm. And the bigger the stuff, the more people are like, wow, how'd you fit this big piece of furniture in here? This must be a way bigger house. But it's not.
I think our #1 rule is that there are no rules when it comes to design. We love breaking all the traditions. So we like to mix color, we like to mix texture and patterns. If it feels like it clashes, it probably doesn't. It probably looks awesome. So don't be afraid to mess around with color and texture and pattern and use what feels good to you. There are no rules.
Weird is in.
Weird is in.
And it's never gonna not be in.
True.
Weird will always be cool.
Yeah. Another really important thing for first-time home buyers or people who have been in their homes forever is not to be afraid to let your home grow with you. When we first bought this house, we were in a very different place in our lives. We were a little bit more concerned with being on trend or what people thought, but as we grew in this house, our personal styles also changed, and so did the space. We have things that we have in the house right now that we maybe wouldn't buy today. Like, for example, this chandelier, but it still works. So even if you've been in your home for 20 years, don't be afraid to change things up. It's easy to paint a wall, it's easy to sand down some cabinets, it's easy to change out your art pieces, and little simple things like that can really make the space feel like a completely different home. Another good tip for renovating a smaller home is opening up the space where it makes sense. Obviously, we like rooms, we like doors, but in some of the main living areas, it felt a little bit cramped. So don't be afraid to take down a wall if it makes sense. We were able to turn this very small galley kitchen into an open concept heart of the home, and this is where we host most of our gatherings, so to be able to have this kind of bigger living room kitchen feel for us was really helpful. We definitely can't talk about renovating a home without talking about budget. Budget is a huge deal, and when we renovated this home, we were definitely renovating on a budget. So I think the tip that we can offer you guys is make sure that you're budgeting wisely and spending where you need to. We definitely feel like we made some mistakes.
For sure.
By not spending money on the things that needed to last, like for example, our cabinets and our floors. We went for less expensive options, and it is what it is. They've lasted less time than we would have wanted. So I think if we were to do it all again, just allocating different budget to the things that make sense and the things that you want to keep lasting in your home forever.
And there are so many resources now. I think doing it yourself is an option for a lot more people than it used to be. And a tip of mine, maybe don't be afraid to give it a shot yourself.
It's also important, I think, to know when to hire and when to do it yourself.
Yeah.
You know, things like painting, design things, those are really easy to do yourself, but things like electrical and plumbing, if you don't know how to do it, don't attempt. Hire where you need to and DIY where it feels safe.
You can knock down a wall yourself.
I don't think so. So not only is it super important to know when you should DIY and when you should hire, but it's also super important, especially when renovating an older home, to understand that there's going to be issues at almost every turn.
Silly issues also.
Yeah, like for us, when we took this wall out in the kitchen, we discovered
a bunch of wadded up newspaper in place of insulation.
Yeah.
Which makes for cool art eventually, but not great to keep the house hot or cold.
Right, so, you know, moving in, we didn't necessarily know that we were gonna be dealing with a house that had very little insulation. So things like that are something to just expect with an older home. You have to keep it in mind for your budget, but also for your timeline. Another really good tip for first-time renovators, especially if you're doing it on your own, is knowing how to make your timeline. For us, you know, we didn't have a project manager, so knowing when to order things, when things were gonna be delivered, how you can streamline the process of installation was something that we really had to learn about. So it's definitely doable without a project manager, but if you're gonna do it yourself, get good at making spreadsheets. We have a binder. Make sure that you're keeping track of everything so that the timeline of things doesn't get super crazy and overwhelming.
But that's the most fun part, is to be
it?
able to, yeah. You can collect your own design as you go. You get to, you don't have to bounce things off anybody else. It is all directly from your own brilliant little mind.
A great tip for utilizing all of your space in a small home is working with what you got and being creative. For us, we live in Southern California, so it's a very indoor-outdoor feel. It's warm all the time, so we spend a lot of time outdoors. So for us, it was no big deal that we actually made our primary bedroom a separate part of the house. So we live in 2 separate spaces with a courtyard in between, and using all of those elements of nature and bringing in the weather aspect of Southern California actually helped us. So I think be open-minded, be creative, and at the end of the day, it's the space that's yours, so if it works for you, it works.
Do not forget about the outside when you're planning your renovation.
Yes, it's so easy to bring elements of nature into your home, plants, colors, textures, so always think about the landscape in your design and see if you can bring those elements into the heart of the home. Thank you guys so much for coming and hanging out in our house. We hope you enjoyed it as much as we do. If you have any more questions about first-time renovations, feel free to drop a comment, like and subscribe for more exciting tips and tricks.
And we'll see you next time.